No.
Why aren't y'all ready for church? Because we haven't been in church in 3 months. Now all of a sudden we going, because you need to get right with the Lord. Now we need to suffer.
I think when it's your choice, you feel a little differently about it.
I know this sounds so bad. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a spiritual person.
Yes.
I love the Lord. I talk to the Lord every single day.
Yes.
It's the church.
Yeah.
I'm not super fond of getting up, getting prepared to go to church. But here, this is not a fair analogy or comparison, but I don't like getting up, dressing, and going anywhere. Period.
True.
This is an Unsolicited Perspectives YouTube exclusive.
All right, Jay, we're filming this on a Sunday, and this question is quite apropos.
Yeah.
Because how do you feel about going to church? Now, the reason why I said this is because we grew up in the same house because we're brother and sister. We literally grew up in the same house. Okay.
That's how it works.
And
sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And our father was a pastor. Now, you may be too young to really remember that, but I remember that. When we were living in Illinois, he was a pastor. We have family members who are pastors. In Illinois, I literally went to church all day Sunday. I went to church to go to Bible school first before mom and dad even got you and our brother together to go to church. Right. I went to church for Bible study. Then I was at church all day. And then there was after church, which is like they feed you and everything. Like, so it was all day Sunday. I never watched wrestling on Sunday. Missed GoBots and Transformers, all the USA cartoons, missed them. I also had Wednesday church. Okay.
Yes, I was too young for that.
Yeah, you were too young for that. When we moved to the East Coast, we started going to church infrequently. And sometimes we would go, sometimes we wouldn't, and we wouldn't really get a heads up. It would be Sunday morning and we would be sleeping, and it was just like, hey, get ready to go to church. And it was like, I didn't know we were going to church. Why aren't y'all ready for church? Because we haven't been in church in 3 months. Now all of a sudden we going, because you need to get right with the Lord. Now we need to suffer. So I have, because church is so long and because I was forced to go to church, I don't necessarily like going to church. Praise the Lord every Sunday, but I don't necessarily like going to church. How do you feel about church?
It's funny. I when I was younger, hated going to church because it's you just sitting. It's hard to sit still with ADHD. You're a child. It's very hard to sit through it. And unless there were those little moments where Dad would give us some candy, a lifesaver or something like that, or he would write something funny on the program.
He only did that one time.
He only did it once, but there would be, or somebody was singing and it was bad, and you would look and Dad's face would be, and it would be funny, unless there were like those little moments to kind of break it up. No, I didn't like church. But as an adult, I get something out of it now. And so I was going to church regularly, and then COVID. Okay. So they my church moved to like a virtual, and then I just never got back into the habit after they resumed like in person. Maybe 2 years later. So I never got back in the habit, but I have a really good church around the corner from me. Great pastor, and I was going to the 7 a.m. service. I was going to sunrise service. Well, because it's shorter. Okay, because they got service at 10:30 after that. So 7 a.m. service is shorter because they got to turn and burn and get you out of there.
Not turn and burn at church. Not turn and burn at church.
They got to turn the tables and get you out of there. Okay. Okay, so it was shorter. And, it's not as many people, and it was like the first time you hear the sermon. So he's got all the energy and everything. And then you home by 9:30, you still got the whole day.
You can watch football if that's what you want to do.
You got the whole rest of Sunday. So yeah, now I get something as an adult because it's my choice now. You know what I'm saying? I picked my church home. I went to several churches down here before I found the one that I liked. So I think when it's your choice, you feel a little differently about it?
I've never gotten it as my choice, even as an adult. And I'm not going to, well, yeah, I guess I am going to throw her under the bus. So my ex used to go to mass. So for those people that don't know, our father is Baptist, our mom is Catholic. So there's a difference between going to church and going to mass. Mass is still church, but mass is so much shorter. More boring.
It's like an hour.
It's a lot more boring.
Yes.
That's a hard hour. But as opposed to 2.5, 3 hours, maybe even 4 hours.
Like the sermon isn't as lively.
Not as lively, no.
As Baptist church.
The singing.
But our parents were really good about letting us go. We went to Baptist church, we went to mass, we even went to a non-denominational church. Like they really wanted us to kind of choose and find our own path. So they were really great about that.
But my ex, Catholic as well, went to mass every Sunday. So before we got married, the priest was like, yeah, no, I got to meet Bruce before I marry you guys. And so she came to me. She's like, hey, the priest wants to meet you. I was like, okay, set up a time. She was like, no. You got to come to church. Because I never went to church with her. Never. The only time I went to church with her was Christmas Eve mass. Because her and her father would go together. And we spent Christmas Eve with her family and Christmas with my family. So that was the only time. Maybe Easter. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. But he was like,
you're shell shocked. You're shell shocked from your childhood.
Look, let me tell you something. I forgot and Wednesday. Like I forgot that it was all day Sunday and Wednesday. But you know what was crazy? As a little kid, I kind of didn't mind. The pastor had like a theme song is crazy, but he had a theme song that he came out to, right? And I used to sing it as a little kid. And one time they called me up in front of the church. I could have been more than 5 years old to sing it along with them. I didn't mind going to church. That my dad says that I used to go outside and do fake sermons, just preaching.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So I mean, but it was something. I guess it was when we moved to the East Coast. It was the infrequency of it. It was hey, I'm chilling on Saturday. I'm a little kid playing with my WrestleMan all night long. Right? Cool. I don't have to get up in the morning. No, I got to turn around and get woken from a solid slumber.
Yeah.
To go to something I didn't even know that we were going, and I don't have no connection to it. Like I had family at the other church, but then in order to get married, I got to start going to mass. Okay, so I'm going every Sunday, and I'm like, hey man, this mass needs to end soon because this is football season. All right, so I got to get dressed up too. You just got to wear some khakis and a polo. I can't wear sweats. Yeah. So then me and my ex split. And me and the priest got so tight because he married us and we were going to counseling before we split that he became my personal counselor after we split.
Yeah.
Because we developed a friendship, he was like, all right, I'm going to see you on Sunday, right? I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Me and her ain't together no more. I don't have to come to church anymore. Yeah, I would see you on Sunday. And then make me read stuff out loud in church. And I was like, look.
That's a strong suit.
What?
Look, I'm real good reading in my head. If I gotta read out loud.
Hey, reading out loud ain't easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, especially
to make it flow nightly.
It's not easy.
It's not everybody's strong.
Okay? And I guess it's not.
It's not mine.
It's not mine either.
I'm gonna be honest. I'll be like,
especially when it's something you never read before. Like if I pre-read it, I might get it. Okay.
Thank you.
But
give me an opportunity to read it through a couple times so I can get the cadence.
No.
Because now I'm messing stuff up.
Yep. And once you mess up one thing, the whole flow is off.
Everything's wrong at that point.
Everything is wrong. But no, so I guess it's never been my choice. It's always been forced. He didn't make you go through cataclysm or anything. Like you're going to mass, but you're not Catholic. But
you have there's a whole process.
Aren't you the religion of your mother?
No, that's
technically.
Judaism.
Oh,
that's Judaism.
Well, he didn't. Yeah. I guess he didn't know that. I don't know what I am actually. No, because I was baptized as a Baptist. So yes. I guess I'm Baptist, but I'll still go to mass if you give me a 45-minute mass, and it's close, or maybe even on TV. I'm there.
Yeah.
But like to get dressed up and go in person, I know this sounds so bad. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a spiritual person.
Yes.
I love the Lord. I say prayers every night. I talk to the Lord every single day.
Yeah.
It's the church.
Yeah.
I'm not super fond of getting up, getting prepared to go to church. But here, this is not a fair analogy or comparison, but I don't like getting up, dressing, and going anywhere, period.
True.
So that's just fundamentally who I am.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
that's fair. I think that if you ever did decide that you wanted to go to church, I think you would have to just do your due diligence to find the church that's right for you.
Yeah.
And when you find the place that's right for you, it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like something that is, fulfilling.
Yeah. Because I definitely get something out of it when they preach. I'm like, is he preaching straight to me today? Was this the message? Okay, all right.
Yes. There's sometimes you go and you be like, man, this feels very pointed.
I guess what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you feel guilty because you don't go to church, don't go to church out of guilt. That's not the reason to go to church. Go to church because you feel a connection. And if you don't feel a connection to a particular church, take my sister's advice and shop around. Just because you grew up and your parents went to a certain church don't mean that that's your church. Find a church that's for you if that's what you want to do. And if you don't want to do it, don't feel guilty about it. Just if you feel like you're right with the Lord, hey. And even if you don't want to be right with the Lord, that's on you. I can't help you with that.
I don't know. I don't have no advice for that.
I don't have no advice for that.
I don't have no advice for that. But yeah, you should always feel a spiritual connection to something. And if you don't feel that connection, you're not in the right place. For you.
And that's the truth, Ruth.
Join the conversation and follow the Unsolicited Perspectives podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your audio podcasts.